Here, let's talk to Ted in Texas. Ted, you're on the air with Mike Rivero. Go ahead.
Hello, Mike and Alex. Are we specifically talking about the events in the Middle East?
You can talk about whatever you want. Go ahead.
Okay, I've been working on this story. It's a local story for Austin. Basically, the headline is Austin welcomes Formula One, ignores own climate protection plan.
Oh, yeah, they want citizens to pay $25 million for this stupid racetrack that'll lose money, but it'll line the pockets of local, the local establishment. Look, the environmental movement is only about stealing property. The SOS, I'm going to put you on hold till after Mike's gone, and then we can come back and talk about this. You know, the cover of the Chronicle is, locals team up with the EPA to fight the death of the earth. The local environmental movement in Austin is about stealing farms and ranches, and they literally then build hotels on whatever they steal. They are a group of vicious criminals. Mike Rivero, a quick comment on Al Gore's wife is leaving him after 40 years. Do you think it's because he's been so politically destroyed by ClimateGate?
I don't know. Maybe it was just a fit of good taste.
Or maybe he's picking up too many pickup basketball games with Obama.
It could very well be.
You know, reportedly what's going on at those. Let's talk to Eddie in New Hampshire. Eddie, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Mike. You already covered much of what my question was to be about, but I just wanted to know, why provoke Turkey? Why in the world would they want to provoke Turkey, a country that's just on the sidelines? Is it to accelerate the process?
That's a good question. No, I mean, this is bold. Israel openly, and Turkey saying this could cause war, and they're going to send ships in. And then if Israel attacks those Turkish ships, how are they going to spin that? Mike Rivero.
Well, a couple of things to keep in mind. Even though Turkey is nominally an Israeli ally, about a year ago, the Mossad was caught as part of a plot to assassinate Erdogan, Turkey's leader. And a little piece of irony that people have not picked up on too much yet. As of this morning, the chairmanship of the United Nations Security Council has passed to Turkey. So now Turkey gets to set the agenda in the Security Council. And I think payback is not going to be very pleasant for Israel at this point. I don't know what Israel was thinking. I think that they had this idea that absent the live video feed that got out from the fleet, that they were probably going to stage something to make it look like the Free Gaza movement really was running weapons into Hamas or something that would silence world criticism, but they didn't get to pull that part of it off. And, certainly right now, Israel is not allowing the media to talk to any of the prisoners taken from the ship. They're only being allowed very, very brief connections with their lawyers.
Well, I'll say this. You're going to see more and more, and police departments are actually buying these, jamming of broadband when they run an operation, because the power that you can have an iPhone and have it streamed to a remote location and that the police can't confiscate your videotape, that is devastating corrupt governments everywhere. I've seen 3 new videos today of police attacking and brutalizing camera people in the U.S., but they had remote feeds so the cops don't get it. So, I mean, they're still in the old game of being able to beat you up and take your video camera. That isn't working anymore. People just go to live feed.
And the other thing, of course, is I think both you and I have a sponsor that makes the little DigiPen and Digi glasses with the camcorders built inside.
Yeah.
People are starting to use those. The police don't even know they're there.
And that's why they're trying to pass laws all over the country and the world, making it illegal to film government. It's going to film you, it's going to surveil you, but you don't film government, your God, your king, your Lord. Anything else you want to add, Eddie?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, is there anything that Israel can do or will do where we just won't back them up? I mean, is there a line that they'll cross that the United States will just say enough, or is it like no matter what?
No, the United States says they're going to back a premeditated first strike with nuclear weapons on Tehran. And so you're talking at least hundreds of thousands dead, and if Iran fights back in any way, it will be called terrorism. You will be nuked, you will die and love it. Okay, I got a big news blitz coming up and more of your phone calls after Mike leaves us here in about 5 minutes. And I got a bunch of other news I want to hit on, not just the convoy situation. But look, I wouldn't be reporting on it that much if, ships are getting boarded all the time, going into countries' waters. This was international waters. I wouldn't even be covering it that much if you just had 20 people killed, which is a bad thing, but it's not as big as some of the things happening in the world. But this has the potential to lead to a full-bore war. And so you can really see world events are accelerating into a quickening right now. Let's go ahead and talk to Josh in California. You're on the air with our guest, Mike Rivero. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Mike. So listen, I want to actually ask you guys something. I received an email from a pastor of mine that actually does missionary work in Jerusalem and Gaza. And he sent this out last night. He was saying, do you mind if I read a couple points real quickly from it?
Go ahead.
So I'd like both your takes on it. He was saying that even after the blockade has begun, ships have routinely followed protocol and docked in Israel. Ports such as Ashdod and their cargo had been carried to land into Gaza without a problem. He said that the captain of all 6 ships were notified that they would not be allowed to break the blockade. And he said of the 6 ships that were boarded, only one chose to ambush the boarding IDF personnel. And then he says the ship which the conflict took place had 600 passengers on it, and 8 ships usually loaded to the brim with supplies. This one didn't. So I don't know. And he's also saying that the attempt to break the blockade was timed perfectly for the Netanyahu and the Abbas to meet with President Obama to discuss direct talks regarding the state solution. So I wanted to find out what your take is on it. I know this is him coming from Jerusalem, but I'd like to find out what you guys think about that.
Mike Rivero, comments?
Well, first of all, Israel's claims that the aid would have been offloaded and taken into Gaza is a little bit weak because the particular supplies, construction supplies and so forth, have been blocked from Gaza by Israel for the last 4 years. If you remember, not too long ago, Israel made a big publicity thing about they were going to allow some aid into Gaza from Egypt. But the reality was that Israel kept the food supplies on pallets in the sun for so long that by the time they were allowed through the checkpoints, they had basically rotted and were no longer usable. So Israel wants to try and look good to the rest of the world. I mean, part of their propaganda is they're going around saying there are no shortages in Gaza, and yet we've had Senator John Kerry over there saying, yes, these people, Israel's treating Gaza worse than the Nazis treated the Warsaw Ghetto. So Israel's claims that they would gladly ferry aid into Gaza, they haven't done it yet in any other than token situations and token volumes. And so the reason the Free Gaza organization continues to send these ships, and by the way, a year ago, Israel grabbed the Spirit and threw Cynthia McKinney in prison for a while. So this has been their behavior all along. Any claims that Israel was willing to take the donated aid and get it to the people of Gaza, it generally doesn't work. What Israel will do is give it to the Palestinian Authority, who will then go out and basically do whatever they want with it. But it never reaches the people of Gaza.
Well, you notice Gaza's run by Hamas, and Israel admits they set up Hamas as a counterbalance to Hezbollah.
Just as they set up the Palestinian Authority to be a counterbalance to Hamas. It's the same game over and over and over again. Israel will put somebody into power in Gaza, and if they get too powerful, then Israel funds the opposition. When they rise to power, Israel creates a new opposition.
And so whoever they set up one day is later a terrorist.
Exactly.
Well, it's the great game. It's very similar to the system the British used to maintain control of their sprawling empire. It's just that I just hope this can be diffused, but it's clear that Israel doesn't want it diffused because they believe they're going to win wars if they can precipitate a wider war. But I know the Lebanon experience of 3 years ago did not show that.
Well, Israel thinks that we want to get the American.
Mike, I tell you what, stay there. Your mic was cutting out again. I think with your Skype, whenever we're sending you audio of music, it cuts you out. So let me have you finish on the other side. Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with us.